Welcome, Flavian Charlene. Good morning, everyone. My name is Flavian Charlene, and I am the CEO and founder of CoinPrism. We are a blockchain technology company based in Dublin, Ireland, and our mission is to bring blockchain solutions to the enterprise. Let me tell you a bit about our story. CoinPrism was one of the first companies to explore blockchain technology, starting our work over 7 years ago. Back then, we developed the concept of colored coins and formalized it into an open-source specification called the Open Assets Protocol. The Open Assets Protocol gained significant traction over the years. I remember back in 2015, Nasdaq announced it was using it for its private market pilot. Shortly after, Overstock announced they were using it to issue corporate bonds on the Bitcoin blockchain. Up to today, November 25, 2025, while talking with numerous clients looking to tokenize assets on a blockchain, one critical issue became clear. Public blockchains, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, are quite inefficient for these specific use cases. There are several reasons for this. First, they are inherently slow. A public blockchain requires consensus among thousands of nodes worldwide. Even a consortium blockchain, with several dozen nodes in different locations, has to contend with network latency, which translates into delays in confirming transactions. While a few seconds is better than 3 days, this latency is still unacceptable for latency-sensitive applications like trading. There's also a cost problem. You need to pay fees for every transaction to incentivize the miners to validate them. The second major issue is infrastructure sharing. On a public blockchain, you share resources with unrelated companies, which could be competing for the same network capacity, driving up your costs without a direct benefit. Furthermore, the prospect of sharing the same chain with your competitors raises understandable privacy concerns. The third obstacle is governance. In a public, permissionless ecosystem, responsibility for transactions is spread across many organizations. For highly regulated sectors, like finance, this lack of clarity represents a significant risk. Our answer to these challenges is called OpenChain, a software solution for private blockchains. We launched the first version several years ago, and it is now our core product. The idea is simple: to allow any company to deploy the software within their own organization to create a dedicated blockchain. The company becomes the sole administrator, defining the rules based on their specific needs. They can then start onboarding their customers and users onto the chain to begin transacting. This model envisions many distinct chains, ideally one for each asset. However, these chains can be linked together through a sidechain system where necessary. Let's give a few examples. A bank could use a chain to manage currency-based assets, representing deposits and loans for their customers. A government, on the other hand, could use it as a national property registry, tracking all property transactions and making them publicly accessible in a transparent way. The benefits of OpenChain are numerous. First, digital signatures guarantee non-repudiation, a crucial aspect for using the chain as legal evidence in court. Then, the inherent immutability and transparency provide that settlement finality, which is vital in capital markets. But where does OpenChain truly differentiate itself? On two main fronts. The first is performance. In terms of scalability and latency, OpenChain can process several thousand transactions per second even on consumer hardware, like a standard laptop, and vastly higher volumes on dedicated infrastructure. The average latency for processing a transaction is about 10 milliseconds, an extremely competitive speed. The second differentiator is compliance. OpenChain is highly flexible and offers a rich set of APIs that allow for deep customization of its operations. You can program complex rules, from basic AML and KYC regulations to more sophisticated business logic. Regarding our market strategy, we work closely with auditing and accounting firms. These partners have a large clientele seeking blockchain solutions, but who often lack the in-house technical expertise to build them. We provide them with our expertise. To date, we collaborate with firms like Deloitte, KPMG, and Grant Thornton. Another key partnership is with Microsoft, which offers OpenChain within its Azure cloud computing platform. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions. Could you describe the technology stack and protocol you use? Certainly. The technology stack was developed in-house from the ground up and is not based on code from Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other projects. We chose this approach because our consensus model is fundamentally different. Instead of requiring agreement among many nodes, it features a single authorized miner for each specific asset. So, for instance, you might have a validation node for JP Morgan's currency and a separate one for Bank of America's. They are distinct entities validating different transactions. This simpler architecture, compared to proof of work or proof of stake, is the key that allowed us to achieve our goals for scalability and efficiency. We started from scratch, building only the bare essentials, prioritizing simplicity as a guiding principle for performance and reliability. So, in JP Morgan's case, is it acceptable for them to be the sole entity validating their own transactions? Absolutely, because in that scenario, that specific chain would manage assets on their own balance sheet. It makes perfect sense for them to maintain exclusive control over validating those transactions. Giving away the right to manage your own assets to other banks often doesn't make commercial sense. That's why, in such a model, each bank would have its own validation node. Connections between these chains can be established later via sidechains, but it's not always a necessary requirement. What is your revenue model? And could you elaborate on interoperability? You are creating a rather closed ecosystem. A private ledger. How does security work? What about interoperability? And to return to the previous question, how do you generate revenue? The revenue model has two phases, one short-term and one longer-term. In the short term, we directly assist organizations, which can be banks or even startups, in customizing open chain for their specific needs. This often involves proof of concept projects, implementation support, and consulting. This phase is crucial for us to learn directly from clients what their real needs and priorities are. As we accumulate this knowledge, our goal is to package it into a standardized software as a service offering. This longer-term model is more scalable. It would allow users to activate their own chain directly through a web portal, while we would provide managed services like hosting, listing, security, monitoring, analytical dashboards, and reporting tools. The core software will remain open source, but the added value will reside in the managed services around it. Regarding interoperability, we currently have a sidechain-style gateway that operates with the Bitcoin blockchain. This allows, for example, depositing funds on the Bitcoin blockchain and seeing them transferred to an open chain. The same principle can be extended to other blockchains. So you can imagine gateways to Ethereum, but also, and more importantly, gateways that interconnect multiple open chain instances with each other. The fundamental mechanism remains sidechain-style interoperability. Perfect. Thank you very much.